Hello, students. Welcome back to Mr. Sandwich Reads at Home Edition. I, of course, am Mr. Sandwich, and I am at home. Today I'm going to be reading Chapter 9 of The King of Mulberry Street by Don and Joe Napoli. I did put up some shades over these terrible fluorescent lights I have here. I do apologize because my cranium is still shiny. Maybe I'll start wearing a hat or something. I do love my hats. And since I'm at home, I can wear my hat. I do apologize, but what do you want me to do? I'm bald. Believe me, if I had hair to keep the lights off my head, I would take it, but I don't. So, do you have some wigs? I could wear a wig, but I feel like that would be very distracting. I don't know. Keep watching. Maybe I'm going to show up with a wig one of these days. So, let me know what you think. Of course, like if you like, and subscribe if you haven't. Let's jump in here to page 66. Chapter 9 is called Trust. When we left off, of course, you know I like to read the last paragraph. In this case, it's just a sentence to kind of jog my memory of what we last read. The uncle, quote unquote, grabbed me by the elbow and flung me behind him. So the uncle, quote unquote, is a padrone, or the plural would be padroni. And these are like kind of like what a sometimes with the southern border here in the U.S. along Mexico, when somebody is smuggling in human beings, it's called a coyote. That's kind of what a padrone is. Somebody who sneaks in immigrants. They claim like, oh, they're with me, and then they might put them to work. They're not going to get treated well. This is kind of like a almost like a Charles Dickens story, if you're familiar with Charles Dickens. If you're not, go ask an adult, because it's good to know. Oliver Twist. Ask about it. Google search Oliver Twist if you don't know who Charles Dickens is. It's a good text-to-text connection. Okay, let's jump in here. Chapter 9, Trust. No, I screamed. I don't know him. Shut up, said the uncle, quote-unquote. Send me back to Napoli, I screamed. The uncle smacked me across the jaw with the back of his hand. I fell. He went on answering Giosi's questions. Remember, Giosi was one of the guards, I guess you could say. I don't know, one of the clerks, I'll say. Clerks at Ellis Island. The other boys turned their backs to us, but one of them hissed out of the side of his mouth. Stupid, you'll have to work in America. And food. Get up. I wouldn't get up. I'd done what Mama said. I'd watched and learned and fit in. And none of it mattered, because now this uncle had me, and I'd be lost and alone for the rest of my life. I lay there and screamed. The uncle kicked me. Get up or I'll throw you in a home with sick boys and you'll die. He turned back to Giosi. My side hurt. I drew my knees to my chest and hugged them. That's where I'm going, said the boy with the colored chalk mark on his shirt. To the sick home, to die. His eyes were glassy with fever. I'm going to Napoli, I forced out as loud as I could. The uncle kicked me harder. What are you doing? The translator from the first line stepped between us. Don't kick him again. He pulled me up. I held my side where I'd been kicked and looked at him in surprise. I thought he'd forgotten about me. Now he pulled me over beside Giosi. That isn't his uncle. He just says it because one of his boys is sick and he needs a substitute for the padrone. So I guess this is somebody working for a higher up who's supposed to come with a certain amount of boys, possibly child labor. The guy says he's the boy's uncle, said Giosi. So he is. Listen to the way he talks. He's from somewhere in Basilicata, but the boy's from Napoli. What, do you think I'm deaf, said Giosi. You're German. I'm the Italian. This is my country they come from. I hear how they talk. That doesn't change a thing. The boy needs an uncle. He's got shoes. He's going to stand right here until his father comes. He's not going anywhere with some fake uncle. Giosi looked at the uncle with both palms turned upward in apology. What can you do? He pointed to the stairs behind him. Those are the stairs of separation. The sick boy goes in the hall to the left. If you ever want to see him again, you go with him. Everyone else goes down the stairs to fetch baggage and buy ferry tickets. He held his hand out low at the side of the podium. The uncle put money in Giosi's hand. Then he pushed the feverish boy toward the hall on the left and barked at the rest of the boys to go with him downstairs. So Giossi was paid off here under the table. The sick boy left without a word. I was sure he believed what he'd said. He was going to the sick home to die. I wanted to yell to him, "Fight!" Hadn't his mother told him to survive? I didn't want to stand anywhere near Giossi anymore, but where else could I go? The endless lines kept moving. After about an hour, Giossi unwrapped a skinny loaf of bread stuffed with cheese and meats. Lettuce, tomato, onion, and pepper flopped out the sides. He said, in America, they call this an Italian sandwich. He laughed in a chummy way, as though he hadn't just tried to betray me. These Americans, he said, they give only an hour for lunch. Not enough to get home and eat in pleasure. He shook his head. His complaints went on and on. Did he think I cared one bit? Did he think he could win me back so easily? I listened because I had to. Otherwise, he might get mad and pawn me off on the next uncle. I was hungry for his food, but Jews don't eat cheese and meat together. So that's one thing to pay attention to if you've been following along. I think it was on the boat. They were passing around, what was it? I have to go back now. I think it was like pepperoni or something. But you'll notice here that Dom or Beniamo is on a kosher diet. Let's see. Jews don't eat cheese and meat together. Still, it looked good. And by the way, I am Jewish. I don't follow a kosher diet. So there's different degrees of just like in any religion, of people that follow the customs or are devout, what would be called devout, somebody who really follows every expectation of the religion. Still, it looked good. The people in the line glanced at the sandwich, closed their mouths, and looked away. Giossi stood, chewing over me. Stay here and stand tall while I go eat. Your father will find you soon. The minute he was gone, I sat on the floor. A man pushed a metal cart between the lines, selling boxed lunches of sandwiches, fruit, and pie for a half dollar. People paid in their different monies. A box lunch was big enough to feed 5 men. You could buy bread for 4 pennies, a sweet cake for 6 pennies, sausage for 10. I didn't know what the prices meant, and it didn't matter because I didn't have pennies. But the smells. Finally, Giossi came back. He didn't tell me to stand up. He got back to work. The German translator said he was leaving for lunch now, and he handed me a piece of newspaper. I unwrapped it. A corner of a sandwich sat there. Thank you, I said in amazement. Don't mention it, he said. I took out the meat and ate the rest of the sandwich. The meat was pink. It could have been pig. So that's also a kosher rule, isn't to not eat pig. Cheese or no cheese, somebody practicing kosher doesn't eat pig. They're considered filthy. I looked around for a place to stash it so the translator wouldn't find out that I hadn't eaten it. Mama always said ingrates were the worst kind of people. I worked the meat inside a pocket. Then I leaned my head against the inspector's podium and fell asleep. And nice, my 8th graders that have been working with me, we've been talking about grat, G-R-A-T, as a root word, meaning thanks, to give thanks or please. And in this case, an ingrate is somebody who does not say thank you. All right. Tap, tap. Someone was tapping on the top of my head. I looked up into Giossi's face. The lines are done, he said. No one reported a lost son. You were a fool not to go with that uncle. He straightened his cap. All right, it's time for us to deal with you. Did you come off that boat called Città di Napoli? I nodded. The German translator asked, You're really alone, like you said. I nodded. He picked up his pen. What's your last name? Could my name get me in trouble? I shrugged. I've got to write something. You come over on Città di Napoli. So, okay, your last name is Napoli. Don't do that, said Giossi. Call him Di Napoli, or Di Napoli, or Da Napoli. Not just Napoli. Only Jews take city names for their last name. And that was probably pretty common in at Ellis Island, that they would give a name. If you watch the interview with my father, we talked a little bit about how our name came to be, and a lot of these names were named or renamed or changed. A lot of people were renamed or had their names changed at Ellis Island, usually to something easier to pronounce. My breath caught. Napoli is okay with me, I said. So you do want to talk, said the German translator. Good. But Giossi has a point. You don't want to be taken for a Jew. Trust me. So So here we see a little anti-Semitism. Adversity, that was what he was talking about. Like Uncle Aurelio said, I didn't care what adversity I'd face in America. I wasn't going to be here long anyway, and no matter what, I'd always be loyal to my family. Put my last name as Napoli, I said firmly, feeling Nona's approval. So here he's showing pride in his Jewish roots. He lifted an eyebrow. All right, Signor Napoli, don't get upset. Anyway, you can use whatever name you want after you leave here. So, what first name do you want? I stood there. I have to put a first name, or I can't give you the document you need. Dom, I said. Domenico, he said, writing on a form. No, just Dom, I said. He hesitated, then he stuck out his bottom lip and nodded. All right, Napoli, Dom. Birth date? 24th of December. A Christmas present, huh? Both men laughed. What year? When I shrugged, he asked, How old are you? 9. That would make 1883. No, 1882, because you were born at the end of the year. So who's waiting for you here in New York? I shrugged. No one. Oh boy. He put down his pen. Here's how it works, Dom. Beyond that door, you get a physical inspection. Giosi cut in. No one's going to let you onto the streets of New York alone. A boy your age needs a family or a padrone. Padroni are illegal, I said defiantly. I could find a policeman and tell him all about the money Giosi took from the uncles. I could if I knew where a policeman was, and if a policeman would listen to me, and if he spoke Neapolitano. Suddenly, it all felt so hard. Lots of things are illegal, said Giosi calmly. The Padroni have been running the show for years. I don't want a Padrone. I don't blame you, said the German translator. So that means you need a family. Change his name to Di Napoli, said Giosi. Like I said, the translator in the third line, the one who knows almost no Italian, wrote in Di Napoli for at least 4 men today, whose last names he couldn't spell. The kid can try to find one of them and latch on. So there you go. There was a name they couldn't say, so they just changed it to something they could pronounce. The German translator picked up his pen. No, I said. I'll stay Napoli. Napoli, Dom. All right then, kid. It's your life. You'll go it alone. If you act smart, you've got a chance. Others your age have done it. He filled out my form. What are you doing? I asked. Why are you writing without asking me anything? The whole thing's a lie anyway, said the German translator. But it's the only way you'll get into Manhattan. What's Manhattan? The main part of New York City, where the big buildings are. I don't want to go to New York City, I said. I want to go to Napoli. No one's going to pay your fare back, boy, Giosi said. It's New York City or an orphanage. Your choice. Orphanages. We had them in Napoli. The nuns ran them. Children who had no one in the world lived there in misery. I saw myself in ragged clothing, covering my ears against Catholic preaching, alone forever. No. One of the nurses who had tested me earlier appeared, shaking her head and scolding the men. She grabbed my hand and pulled me away. Something tugged at the back of my waistband. I felt behind with my hand. Someone had tucked folded sheets of paper into my pants. I quickly jammed them in my pocket. And those are the documents that he needs to show citizenship. All right, that is the end of chapter 9. I hope you enjoyed that. They do mention the orphanage there, which again, I had kind of referenced Oliver Twist and Charles Dickens, the author of Oliver Twist, so worth taking a look at there for a text. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed chapter 9. Keep following along if you haven't already subscribed. And again, my tip, I've mentioned this in past videos. If I'm reading too slow for you, you can just slightly increase on YouTube the pacing, or if I'm going too fast, you can also slow it down a little bit. Okay, hope you enjoyed. I'm Mr. Sandwich. Peace out. What's up, bud? Can I finish this chapter? Did you want to be in here while I finish reading? I just don't want you on the camera, okay? Okay, and now I have to edit this. I have to get rid of this part in the video. Okay? Do you want to go play Lego? How about you go play, do your free time, and I'll finish reading, okay? This book is for older kids. You want to sit and listen to me read, or you want to go play? Okay. You can sit in that black chair if you want.